Welcome back to London Live News. Now to a special interview this Valentine's Day. London is filled with nights out, experiences and of course creates thousands of unique stories every single day. So we heard from the Mayor himself about his personal top spots in the capital, from meeting his wife to why London is special to him and millions more. He reveals all. Let's hear from him.
So my wife and I met when I went to the boys' school, Ernest Bevin Secondary School, which to those that, we didn't feel this way, but others thought it was a really tough, hard school. And Sadia went to the mixed school, what we thought was the sort of namby-pamby school for, the boys when they were namby-pamby compared to us. That was the view back then. We were teenagers. So we met when I was in sixth form, she was in sixth form, and the thing about her school was there was a head teacher there called Mr. Stapleton. And at lunchtime, Mr. Stapleton would patrol up and down Welham Road to stop the Ernest Bevin boys, going to try and, I use the gentle phrase, court the Graveney girls. And so I managed somehow to, we sort of knew each other, I managed somehow to get around Mr. Stapleton. And so we started getting up when we were in the sixth form, and, fell in love quite young. Married when I was 24 and Sadia was 23. I was a trainee solicitor. Sadia was at law school. And and I tease people. So when I meet, I'm privileged. I get to, get to meet people who, haven't spent time with somebody from my background, and so I sort of tease them when I say, yeah, we had an arranged marriage. We when we were very young. And they go, wow, really? Yeah, did you? And then I sort of carry on the story. They say, yeah, we arranged ourselves. That's there. But yeah, we met when we were very young.
Incredible to meet that young and be together for so long. Talk to me about your love story with Sadia and some of the places in London that mean the most to you as a couple. Yeah,
so the great thing about London is there is something to do no matter what your wallet or your purse. And so different parts of our life and our life story, we've obviously had, hardly any money, a bit of money, a bit more money and so forth. So there's different things we've done during the last, we've been together since 88, we got married in 94. And so the great thing about London is there are things you can do whatever your budget. So a simple example, the centre of our city is just amazing. So whether it's, walks in Hyde Park and then walking down towards St James's Park. We love St James's Park because we spent a lot of time there. But also, where else in the world can you see pelicans just walking around, minding their own business? And if you go in a certain part of the day, I think between 2 and 3, you can see them being fed. And so that's joy. You can walk down towards, depending on the route you take, Parliament Square and so forth, great part of the city. Another great part of the city is the South Bank. I mean, I challenge you not to walk on the South Bank and have a great time, from the street vendors behind in National Theatre. We've now got this great project we began when I became mayor in 2016, where in the evenings, from London Bridge to Lambeth Bridge, all the bridges are now illuminated, and each bridge has a different colour and different rhythm because the Thames is different. So whether it's the evening, walk along the South Bank and you can see these illuminated bridges, whether it's the daytime, the sort of buzz of the South Bank. If the weather's good, one of our parks is great. And if your budget, stretches, we've got the best theatres in the world. That's one of the great things about London. You've got the best of the world's theatre in London. We've been to some great gigs. There's a great, so Sadia and I love Lionel Richie. And sort of, it sounds corny, but one of his songs is our song. And we saw Lionel Richie play at Hyde Park. He was the warm-up to Stevie Wonder. And when, Endless Love came on, I obviously sang to my wife, right? And as indeed 3 Times Lady. And then the next day, and so I was singing to Sadia, the next day there were photographs in the paper saying, Sadiq's courting his wife and stuff. And my daughters were so embarrassed and so mortified. So, I've got to be romantic in private in case my daughters cringe and get embarrassed.
Can I ask which Lionel Richie song it is that's your song as a couple?
Endless Love.
Endless Love.
Yeah, I can do the Lionel Richie notes pretty well, and she can do the Diana Ross notes pretty well.
I love it. Which is your favourite restaurant in London as a couple?
There's loads we've got fond memories of, in Tooting, in the centre of our city and stuff. And so again, like I said, it depends on your budget. So you've enjoyed some of the restaurants in Tooting, really reasonably priced, and so we've had some great times there. My best friends are friends I went to school with, and they live in and around Tooting. So we catch up regularly every week or 2 weeks. We always go to a local restaurant in Tooting. We try and rotate. Our current favourite is a restaurant called Watan, W-A-T-A-N. And the great thing about Watan, it goes to the Tooting story you were talking about, Katie. It's basically, so recently we've had in Tooting, in the last 10 years, lots of people whose country of origin is Afghanistan because of the unrest in Afghanistan. And so Watan is a fusion of Pakistani food, but also Afghani food. So it's a good example of how the foods in Tooting have evolved and changed over the course of time. But, you know, there's a period of time where, you know, we enjoyed restaurants in the West End, and so we've got some of the finest restaurants in the world, I think, in London, whether your budget can afford a Michelin star, whether it's fine dining, whether it's, you know, some of the best pizza places and stuff. You know, I genuinely think we've got it all.
Now, Richard Curtis, when we had him on the podcast, he revealed that when he has been heartbroken and sort of messed around in his past growing up, he would always go to the river to think. That was his thinking place and his unwinding place. Do you have somewhere in London that's the same, that you go to if you're in a spot of bother?
I know Richard very well. He's a friend, and I love him both as the work he does in his film, but also he does a huge amount of work in relation to making sure that we address the challenges of climate change. He's passionate about addressing the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. But if Richard's listening to this or watching this, listen, I'm just a boy speaking to a director saying, please cast me in one of your films. But listen, and actually, I think in Love Actually, there's a scene where I think Liam Neeson's by the River Thames, so I know what Rich is talking about, and I think it may be on the South Bank where Hugh Grant chases after Andy McDowell in Full Wedding. So, yeah, listen, lots of places in London I go to think and unwind. I like running now, and so actually I began running because of the Evening Standard. David Cohen, the campaigning journalist, persuaded me in 2014 to run the marathon to raise money for the Dispossessed Fund, and I fell in love with running as a consequence of doing that. So for me, running really helps. Running around the Commons really helps. But the interesting thing is when you've got a busy life like me, you know, and I understand what Richard is talking about, not necessarily being, you know, depressed or unhappy, but you do need to try and find time to just unwind and to just think and to reflect and so forth, and sometimes just to be grateful. The river's a really good place to go. For those that don't live in and around the River Thames, whether you go right to the west, Twickenham, Richmond, which is gorgeous, all the way to the east, even to the Barrier and you know past Greenwich stuff, there are stretches of the River Thames that are just amazing, and a lot of it I suspect many Londoners don't know about, whether you're on the south or north of the River Thames. And it is just an amazing part of our city.
Yeah, that was one of my highlights of London Marathon training, was just exploring new areas of the river. Speaking of the London Marathon, for me anyway, it's one of the sort of most love-filled events that there is in the London calendar. You really just see so many examples. Yeah, it was fantastic. One of the highlights of my years in London.
Yeah.
Are there other events to you that are similar? I mean, do you agree about the London Marathon, and are there other events, London Pride, for example, or is it more the daily happenings?
So one of the things that I've tried to do, and we've got a campaign now called London for Everyone, and why we began this campaign was because, look, we see across the globe, people using any argument to divide communities. It could be ethnicity, religion, values, and so actually this year in 2024, half the world's population is going to be voting from, America, the UK, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, half the world's population. And so what I've tried to do as mayor is to try and bring people together. We'll be celebrating St George's Day in Trafalgar Square. Very soon we'll be celebrating the Muslim festival of Eid in Trafalgar Square, the Sikh festival of Vaisakhi in Trafalgar Square. You mentioned Pride. I'm really proud that for the last 8 years, I've been the only mayor in history to lead the Pride March, because I think our diversity is a strength, not a weakness. And so, all those events I go to, and I'm an integral part of, and we help fund. Why? Because it brings people together. And I've met people, Katie, genuinely, who have fallen in love at some of these events, made great friendships at some of these events, but also had a sense of belonging at some of these events. So people may call me, a snowflake or whatever, but I think it's really important to understand that, our values, our diversity is a strength, not a weakness, to celebrate, not denigrate, and that's really important in our city.
Are there any other moments specifically that come to mind from your career so far as mayor? Just those real examples of non-romantic love and Londoners loving thy neighbour?
Oh, it happens all the time. Listen, I get to meet as you do in your job, people that the public will never have heard of, that do amazing things and do it because of love. Teachers, I mean, look, I can say this without any equivocation. My teachers loved me. That's why they pushed me, they encouraged me, they opened my eyes to things I'd never thought of. And I know there are teachers who love their children now and really care about their kids. My mum was recently in hospital. She was in hospital for 11 days. Now, I'm not saying all the clinicians loved my mum, but the care she received, it couldn't be because of the remuneration those people get, because it's not adequate in relation to the care she received. I meet every day people who love their jobs or love their work colleagues, and we don't talk about it enough. It's a very British thing. We don't say I love you, right? When was the last time to a work colleague you said I love you, or to your best friend you said I love you and stuff? And but you do. And so I think what I've discovered the older I get, and I think for me the transformation was going from having 6 siblings who were blokes, boys, and a sister, to having 2 children who are both girls/women. And so we now hug all the time. Whether it's when I see my best mates, we hug, or work colleagues I hug, people I haven't seen for a while I hug, because it's a way of showing love without needing to say I love you. And I think Richard Curtis does a great job. I mean, people tease him about it all the time about being soppy and all the rest of it and stuff. But I think it's great. I like happy endings. If I know movies, if I know in advance a movie's not got a happy ending, I'm not sure I'll go and watch it. And so it does make a difference. And I think, bearing in mind all the issues there are with the world, whether it's Ukraine or Gaza or what's happening in other parts of the world, you do need to actually be happy and be positive. And love's one way of doing it.
Well, there we are, Sadiq Khan with his personal stories and top date night spots this Valentine's Day.